So every single key on the keypad is mapped, and uh, we can get the key. So let me do escape first. If I press escape, the program should, I mean, the window should close. Okay. So 27. So key code is 27. So if event.keystem.sem is equal to event.key, sorry, 27, then is running will be false. So they should automatically break the while loop. So, okay, so I press enter and all. Now I'm going to press escape and the window closed. Okay, so this is all working fine. I can do the mouse also in the same way. It's not tricky at all, but we can do that later. So now I want to show you the how to render an image. Okay, so for that, first of all, we need an image, and let's see. So I have this assets folder where I have two images, and I'm just going to grab this assets folder and put it into my project just directly under the root. So it's the first child of the root along with the main.cpp and so on. Okay. So note that it doesn't show source files. There is no directory. This is a virtual thing that Visual Studio does to help us out, but I don't find it very useful. Okay, so there is directly under the project or the root, or we have the source file as well as the SLN solution file, and that's where I'm putting the assets. And when we compile, it debugs to this x64 library or the directory, sorry, and then in x64 debug, under there we find our executable file, which right now, oh, which right now will is acting like a keylogger. Okay, so that's the whole folder structure, and we have the assets here. So first of all, I'm going to render this, and then this is a sprite image, and we will make the sprite move around, animate the sprite. Okay, so first a static image. So for that, we need two things. We need a SDL surface. So it will be a temp surface. So let's just call it SRF. Let's call it SRF image because we'll do a sprite animation later, and we also need a texture that will hold the image. So SRF text. Okay, and when the once we have the renderer, that's when we can create the surface and the texture. So we will say SRF image. So here we are initializing the image. So image underscore load, and we have to give the path now assets underscore player dot png. Okay, and then we say that surface texture will be equal to does STL create texture from the surface. Okay, and the surface will be, so first we need the renderer and then we give the surface. Okay, so we have created the texture, then we have to free the surface STL score free surface, and okay, and then we are ready to load this texture. So the way to do it, so we are after polling the events, we are going to inside the while loop after polling the events, that's when we can load the texture actually. So let's see, STL render clear. So first we clear out whatever is being rendered, then STL render copy, and then we have a STL texture, surface texture, sorry. Okay, and then we need to give two rects, which is the source and the mm, destination rect. So I'm directly going to We haven't created the variables, but I'm just directly going to reference these two variables, and I will create it on top here, SDL, and I will show you guys what those two are. TSD. Okay, so SRC, the first variable SRC means the point from which it starts drawing the rectangle. So drawing the image. So the rect is the basically the bounding rectangle surrounding this image that it will render. Okay, so source will be here, and DST is where on screen does it place the image. So source will start cutting this image itself, and then DST will look at where it puts it on the uh, screen. Okay, so it will become clearer as we go. So for example, this will make sense when we think about sprite animation. So for example, here the src will, it's a single line, so src dot x will be 0, y will be 0, and then length of this image, which is 32 pixels, and then we so sorry, so this is the w, src dot w, and this is src dot height. Okay, so both are 32 by 32, and the starting point is 0 comma 0 in x and y. When it goes to this one, then x becomes 32, then x becomes 64, and so on. So so to get, say for example, this image, this is starts at 0, so 0 comma 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if this is the image that we want, then it will be 5 into 32. Src.x will be 5 into 32, y will still be 0, and the width w will be 32, and the height will be 32. So width will be this and height will be this. So basically it's saying that take the hand or whatever, the the cutter, maybe we can say, to this point, and then go this much and go this much. That's it. So it's as simple as that. So that's SRC, or the source. Now DST is even simpler. DST means where on screen should we put it. So DST.xy will be somewhere, maybe if we make it 0 comma 0, it will be at this top left hand corner, and the width and the height will be how much to render it by. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So with that explanation, we can say src.x is equal to src.y is equal to 0. We're doing the ogre first, and src.width is equal to, let's say, 230. We'll do the height also. Similarly, we can do a dst. I'm just going to copy it because it's a static image, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to control C, control V everywhere. Okay, so we have that. You can see that is working. Then after we render the copy, we say that render present and g renderer. Okay, and we have our image. Okay, so as you can see, we can make the we are logging the keyboard controls. So let me actually grab the keyboard controls, and let me try to move the ogre. So I'm just going to stop that application. Okay, so we can say if evt dot key dot key sim dot sim is equal to that, then do something. Okay, so a shortcut in Visual Studio. Okay, actually no need for that. I'm just going to copy that bit everywhere. Okay, so that. Oh, okay. So these are all our if statements. So now we will say, so I forgot what it was actually. Wait. So this is down. Okay. This is down, then up, left, and this has to be right then. Okay. So then we have to move the dst dot x plus is equal to, let's say, 32. Okay. And if it is moving left, if it is moving left, then it's a dst x minus 32. Then if it moves up, then it is a y. So dst dot y minus is equal to 32. Then if it moves down, then dsty plus equal to 32. This should work. Let's see. Okay, and it does work. So you can also see that. Let's see the keys it's logging. Left. Yeah, totally works. Okay, now I'm going to do a sprite animation. So I'm going to comment out this line. I don't want to keep seeing the key logging there. Okay, so before I do the sprite animation, I want to uh, make the frame rate a little bit uniform. So everyone does it. So I'm also going to show you. So what happens is apparently the frame rate keeps flickering between. Uh, so it, so the amount we move per frame is not the same. So to do that, what we need is we need a starting frame rate before the loop. Okay, so we need to define the FPS or the frame rate per second that we want to play at. So let's say a const, this won't change. FPS is equal to, let's say, 60, and then const int uh, frame delay is equal to, let's say, 1000 because it's a millisecond thing by FPS. Okay. Oh, next, let's mark the starting point. I'm just going to say int a, it's too much to type. So while it is running, a is equal to SDL, and then we can get ticks. So, so as soon as the frame runs, we we call the get ticks, and once it has finished all the operations, then again we call the ticks. B will be equal to SDL get ticks. Then oh then we will say that SDL, then we have to delay it. So if it is slower, uh, if A minus B, if this is less than SDL delay, then we will, oh, this is not delay, SDL delay, this is delay frame delay, sorry, whatever, the variable on top, this variable. Okay, so then we delay it by frame delay minus B minus A. Oh, I also made a mistake here. Let me just say the int time taken will be B minus A. So if the time taken is less, so in the same way you can handle if it is more also, not a problem. That's time taken. Okay, so this will just be more uniform sort of rendering. So the idea behind the src and dst for mapping animations, something that we discussed earlier. And I'm just going to implement it now. So we will still need another uh, image. Let's call it sprite srf sprite. So we need another. Uh, oh, this was actually a really bad variable name. It won't. But I won't change the srf texture now. I'm just going to change srf sprite, and the other one I'm just going to call it text sprite. Okay. So if you're following me, then just note that this is a bad naming. SDL texture, I called it SRF text. It should just be, it should have, it would have made more sense if I called it text in IMG. So sorry, in the next time I would probably do that. Okay, so for now we are going to call it SRF sprite and text sprite, and after our renderer, we can just do the same thing, SRF sprite and text. So we are just doing the same thing. We are creating a surface, and this is what is the name of our. It's called sprite.png. This is our animation, a sprite sheet. It's a 32 by 32 sprites. So assets sprite.png. So srf sprite, we load the image, or we that's where we're creating the surface. Then the texture will be create srf image name srf sprite, and then free the surface srf. Okay, and this is the text sprite is what we will render here. Okay, so I'm just going to call this. Okay, and we will have a src2 and dst2. So I'm just going to copy this, and let me put it right here. So this will be src2 dst2. In Visual Studio, if you press the left mouse button, then press Alt and then move the mouse button up, you can edit multiple lines at once. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so okay, so we have this here now. Okay, what we need to do is we need to move src.x and src.y. Uh, we need to keep moving that, and we'll get to the, and that will animate our whole system. So the height and width will be 32 and 230. This 230 is basically what it is rendering to. So I let me keep it at that, and I want to place it a bit away from the ogre. So 4 and 400. So it will be placed at a destination of 400. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so we have the sprite being rendered. Now what we will do is we will start moving this x and y. Okay, so because y will still stay at 0. Remember, it's a horizontal strip, so y will stay at 0 and only x will move, and it will move by 32 each. And how can I say that? When I open in Photoshop, should I open in Paint? Anyway, okay, let it open in Photoshop. We'll see the something about the sprites. Okay, so X, right? So it opened, didn't not so bad for Photoshop to open fast. So you can see that this sprite animation is exactly at 32 pixels, and then the next one will be 64, then 96, so on. Okay, so that's why it's 32 by 32. All right. So this will move. So what we can do is let's make a counter. So let's make a counter equal to 0, and the counter will just keep incrementing. Okay. here we can say counter ampersand. So how many frames do we have here? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 frames. That means counter ampersand 8. So you'll always get a value between 0 and 7. Okay, that's why, and it will be a sequence. So it will be this into 32 to 32. So this should be enough to move the animation. No, it was not. So and the reason why it was not is because I put the counter outside my while loop very confidently. So that's why this value counter value was just 0. So now the counter value increased and the sprite is being animated. So how can we slow it down? And we can slow it down by reducing the FPS. Let's make it say 32. Let's try a little bit more. So what about 1 frame per second? Yeah, you can see now that it's moving at 1 frame per second. So this is an example of an animated sprite. Okay, and we can move the ogre also while we are moving. But the again, it is moving like 1 frame per second. So the ogre is moving very slowly, and this sprite is being animated. So we need to figure out a balance between that, and that's not so all that is not very hard to do. But anyway, I'm going to keep this at 60 for now. So the ogre moves nicely. So we can set up logic for when the ogre is close to this sprite, that's when it um, starts being activated because we know the DST of the of both the elements. And we can also set up other things like move the ogre automatically and we move the sprite. And when we move the sprite, then we animate it. So that becomes the normal game. All right, for now, I'm going to stop, and next time we will we will look at making a tile map and adding some collisions. All right, thank you.